So today is a unique day in that this is the very first day, given the shop refresh countdowns, in which we have been able to buy enough solar flare ambers through the Dragon Merchant since the recent update in which they were added to finally have enough to unlock the seal of the first dragon Darkfyre and then see the second half of this Dragon Advanced system and see exactly how the additional levels to the dragon skill with the skin you can get through the Dragon Advanced system work, how Dragon Blood works, whether we'll need additional ambers, the buffs we can get, and everything else. So I have in here all the information mapped out, exactly what the skill does, all the buffs, the Dragon Blood you'll need, the ambers you'll need, the total amount of dragon marks that will be required to get all of that, and actually breaking the seal, given the amount of marks required to actually get those ambers, is quite difficult. So I imagine this information will be quite relevant to a lot of players just because they won't be able to see it yet until you do actually break that seal. And something that really came to prominence with the release of the Dragon Advanced system was how much more important dragon marks became. That is only becoming more of a pressing issue now. On my main account, I already can't full buy this shop. I can't full buy ambers. I haven't broken the seal yet on my main account. And the costs to just get to this point and unlock this are tiny in comparison to what is required to complete this entire talent tree and get all these buffs. So all of these little stages are individual buffs, normally with a limit of 5, but it depends which one they are. These small ones are all 5 limits, and you have to fully complete one of these stages to be able to go to the next one in the sequence. You can't get just say 3 out of 5 and then go to the next one. You have to go to 5 out of 5. There's these medium stars, which are all 3 out of 3, and then finally these big stars at either end of the left and right hand side, which will run an additional level to the solar flare skill, which for some reason with recent hotfix has lost its tooltip, but you can see here exactly what it does. So by default, when you break the seal, you'll have this at level 1. You can then equip it and unequip it at will in here just by clicking it and applying it again like that. And obviously when this is equipped, using the Darkfyre dragon will then gain this skill when it's used in combat. Something to note with that, if you look here, is during a rally, only the rally leader's dragon advancements skin can take effect. So if you have 8 people sending Darkfyres, only the rally leaders is going to matter there. Or if you look at the line below, the highest level of this Dragon Advanced system, but you won't be able to stack up 4, 5, 6 of these skills on top of each other. And as a filler, these will actually be fairly redundant because of that. So that actually loses a lot of the effectiveness of this. And a key talking point here is sort of how worth is it pushing these skills really hard, because whilst theoretically it's free to play, this amount of marks isn't really attainable in a short period of time, at least, without putting money towards it, to be honest. You can slowly grind it over time with just things like dragon rallies, but it will take a long, long time. Skill itself, though, this is just at level 1, remember, we can get it up to level 3. You would assume, potentially, when you complete this tree, there might be an additional seal that you have to break afterwards, and you can get it up to level 4, maybe. Maybe level 3 is just the maximum. That would kind of be weird, given the existing leveling system already within the game. Either way, we won't be able to know that until the future. But now at level 1, this is a typo, it's just plus 50,000 strength. It isn't plus 50,000%, because that would be the most ridiculous thing ever, and you'd just be getting one shot by dragon attacks every single fight. And then when attacking with Dragon Darkfyre, has a 30% chance to attack again with damage coefficient 50%. So This will basically add an additional 15% on average dragon damage to your dragon attacks. But there is also some synergy there because you're getting an additional dragon attack, so therefore be able to trigger assist, since that procs off of dragon attacks, so you'll be able to get heals through that as well, which will add value to it beyond just the damage it does itself. And because of this, any players that are currently running level 70 Moonshadow dragons will now want to swap over to Darkfyre at least temporarily, both because of the buffs you're getting through breaking the seal itself, which are actually quite significant, but just the skill as well and the synergy you're getting from that skill. And over time, the more buffs you're going to be picking up along the way. You can see here the strength on the Darkfyre here is stronger, the agility here on the Darkfyre is stronger, and until the Moonshadow at least gets up to a somewhat equivalent point with the progression here, you will, if you're wanting to min-max it, swap all your skills and dragons over. When you can break the seal here for the Moonshadow, that will obviously change though. But if you're wanting to get the most out of your account, you will have to swap everything over to Darkfyre for now, and then swap everything back over to Moonshadow when the seal can be broken, and they're then at equivalent levels. Unless, of course, the additional levels on the Solar Flare skill become ridiculously good. We don't know yet how strong this can get because it's currently not possible to get to either side of these talent trees because of the time gating of blood and ambers though. So these talents in full, you can see all the stats of here, and you'll note that the buffs are quite low, honestly. Like, they're quite underwhelming, especially because these only take effect when the Darkfyre is actively used in combat. These buffs here are basically irrelevant. The total stats too, they're better, but they're in such low amounts and they're also more expensive. The important things here are the counter increases. So these aren't anti-counter. They increase your counter coefficient against your own counter, so they effectively mitigate your opponent's anti-counter, and then the solar flare levels as well. But all in all, this is actually quite low value, particularly when you put it into the perspective of how much it costs. So you can see down here, it's going to take you months and months to fully complete these talent trees, and it's going to cost over 50,000 dragon marks, and this doesn't include what it required to actually break the seal in the first place. So the costs here are extortionate, and there isn't really very good ways of getting dragon marks in the game. There's no power creeped packs of them at all. It's all quite old packs that are quite low value. You have dragon rallies, which with the refinement presets now, you can actually have endurance recovery in your presets, and that lets you do quite a lot of dragons daily actually. You have, say, the Dragon Forge pack, which you can get weekly, but this will be 30 a day for a week. So it's 210 marks weekly for 60 BD. You get it in random places like AC, point tier match rewards. There are packs for it as well, but the efficiency is low. So you get 100 marks for what is at base a 50 BD pack. Considering this will get less efficient as you go up, think about how many packs you need to buy to get to that 50,000 marks point. It's ridiculous. So for me at least, I'm just going to stick with dragon rallies with endurance recovery as my main income of these, and just do it slowly because I don't think these buffs warrant rushing it in any way. And because of how extortionate the cost is, you're going to want to be very careful with exactly how you allocate these talent points with the dragon blood and the additional ambers, because if you just chuck them away willy-nilly down both sides, you're really going to delay your power spikes here. So ideally you're going to want to all in one direction and rush to get to the additional solar flare level, either here in the left or here in the right, as soon as possible. So I have some maths here about that. The left-hand path is significantly cheaper to get to that additional solar flare level than the right-hand side path is. So realistically, you're going to want to, in contrast to what I've actually done here, go directly down this left-hand side and go straight to the additional level here. The awkward thing for some players, and the reason I've gone down the right-hand side, particularly because there's such an excess of marks on this account, is the second additional thing that's actually high value in here. The counter increases are not spread out equally. So I have here a graphic. Everything in this video that I'm using to show this stuff was made by Dell and HOH, so thank you to her. You can see exactly here how the buffs are separated. And this one here is the infantry counter increase. And then down the right-hand side, this is the spear counter increase, and this is the cavalry counter increase. So infantry players have really lucked out here, because their counter increase is both basically immediate in how soon you get it, compared to like the cavalry increase, which is absolutely miles away. It's well over 10,000 dragon marks worth to actually get there. But the infantry buff is also on the direct path to the cheapest additional solar flare level. So if you're really wanting to get the counter increase and you're a spear or cavalry player, you can go down this right-hand side because of that. But I would only really do that if you just have a huge excess of dragon marks, because you're really going to be delaying your power spike of getting the additional levels on the advanced skill, which is realistically the best thing in here, because all these buffs are just not that great. Yeah, that is all the information we know so far. That's all the information we have available to us. The main takeaways will be go left on the little talent tree and go directly to the solar flare level increase. That is probably the best way to do it. You're going to need an absurd amount of dragon marks either way, and given what you actually get out of this, don't think it's worth rushing with money. I would, if possible, have an endurance recovery refinement preset and keep on top of doing dragon rallies at this point, because you are going to need an absurd amount of dragon marks long term. I mean, even if you're just doing Darkfyre and Moonshadow, long term that's going to be well in excess of 100,000 marks when you include breaking the seals as well. So this is going to have to be a long term grind that you're going to want to start committing somewhat to already. Otherwise, you're just going to make it a lot harder for yourself in the future. And yeah, hopefully some of this information can be of help.